That is the water tower of the Los Angeles County Poor Farm. On the other side of the tracks, I find my preservation pal and husband, Richard Schaaf. Richard, what is up and where are we?
Hey, Kim. We are just west of Rancho Los Amigos, the Old County Poor Farm, Gardendale, and Garfield on Gardendale. So this is a approximately 1 acre parcel, and I want to start this story in 1946. Up until very recently, this was the American Legion Hollydale Post. And just today, the County of Los Angeles has voted to approve affordable veterans housing to be here, which is great. And I think that contract is going to abode in path. But I want to pop back a couple decades. 1946 is when the county decides to separate this from the Rancho Los Amigos Poor Farm compound, and they do that. And this is where things get interesting, because about 12-15 years earlier, in 1932, County Council of Los Angeles says, so this is the cemetery, right? Have I mentioned this was the cemetery for the Poor Farm?
No, but this was the cemetery that they had some problems in 1914.
Right, so, so...
Tell us what happened in 1914.
Okay, so all the way back in 1914, there's a terrible series of floods. And this cemetery, which has been active since the late 19th century for the Poor Farm, because, the floods bring up caskets, they say, this is probably a bad place for a cemetery, so we're just not going to use this to bury the indigent that die at the Poor Farm. And that's good.
So what did they do instead?
Well, so they have a crematorium, and they keep cremating bodies, and they just store them. And so 1914, the teens passed, the 20s passed, it's 1932. We're back to 1932. And the county council, the council for the county of Los Angeles, county council says, yeah, so we've got all these bodies, and we've got this really generous...
Ashes.
Sorry.
That's okay. I know.
They have these remains. They have cremated remains. They have a lot of them, 5,600 approximately. And it's so great that there's this cemetery in the valley that wants to bury the remains for $1 an urn. But we've done the math, and we just think that that's too much money. And we do need to do something about these 5,600 urns. But we're just going to bury them in our cemetery. We're just going to take care of it here. So that's the question. That's why we're here. So
all of the historical documentation that we've found talks about cremains
right there. But that's really the last bona fide statement from the county that these 5,600 cremated remains and urns are going to be buried in the Poor Farm Cemetery, and that's how they're going to deal with it. In 1946, when this is taken away from the Poor Farm and decided the county will have other uses for it, the bodies which were buried here prior to 1914,
the ones that were not disinterred by the flood,
right? The 100 or so bodies not cremated but literally buried here are exhumed. Okay, so the question is, though, what about those 5,600 urns that in 1932 County Council says, no, we're not going to spend $6,000 taking care of all of this. We're just going to bury them here. So our ask is, where's the paper trail showing that they're here? Because if they're here, I think it's appropriate to note that.
Right, some little memorial garden of some sort. And if they're not here,
let's not say little.
Okay.
But I think memorializing those interred here, I think it's appropriate. I really do.
Especially now that a project is going to be using this, very large and wonderful and useful piece of land.
Now is definitely the time for Abode and Paths architects to figure out, if they're here, to figure out a nice memorial for them.
I think so too.
Okay, that's it. I want to keep it simple. It's a long, complicated story, but that's
That's it.
Right.
That's the elevator pitch.
And I'm going to say that as we started this video, a beautiful swallowtail butterfly flew by. And although it's very dry, you can tell that this is an old cemetery with some nice windbreaks of the trees. And this is a place of remembrance. So we're going to try to remember those who were here and hopefully get their names. Over and out.
Yeah.
From the edge of Rancho Los Amigos. And yes, that is the water tower.